gentlemen, welcome to the Good Roads Podcast. We are back with a bulletin breakdown, and we are back with our contributors, Thomas Barakat and Andrew Blackburn. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing pretty well, Jared, as well as we can be for the middle of the winter. The good news is January's over, and we hope February will go by a lot quicker.
Yeah, 5 o'clock, 5:30. The light is peeking out a little bit longer, so you can see the days are getting longer.
We're basically at summer, guys. We're basically at summer.
And at the risk of making it worse, it can't get any worse. I'm just putting that out there into the ether. Anyway, we are back with the bulletin breakdown, and we all know how this works. For those just tuning in for the first time, we have 3 topics for the bulletin. We have 5 minutes for each topic, and each of our contributors, I got that from last time, Thomas, are going to speak to the topic at hand for 5 minutes. Once that 5 minutes is up, alarm goes off, we're done. And at the end, we'll have something a little bit fun for you. So for this week, we're going to start off with a Good Roads related topic. Good Roads is advocating for safer rural roads on the budget circuit. Thomas, Andrew, we're going to put 5 minutes on the clock. In 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Oh, thank you very much, Jared. Yeah, so this is kind of a bit of, I don't want to say self-promotion, but it's a little bit of just us kind of letting our members and our listeners know what it is that we're kind of up to. And the rural road safety strategy and rural road safety initiative that we've kind of been pushing forward for the past few years has kind of been our top advocacy priority. Essentially, what we're asking for is the province to invest $207 million over 5 years to help make our roads safer. We want that money to go into road safety auditing, into road safety measures that can be implemented at the local level, and then some money just to analyze how all this is going. We want this to kind of be rinsed and repeated all throughout the province, any communities, any rural communities, northern, southern, that sort of thing. And we've kind of been putting this out there in all sorts of different ways. We were at Queen's Park a couple of months ago with our board of directors, with our senior leadership team, talking to MPPs. I think we had over 50 meetings doing that. And we've done that for a couple of years. But most recently, and what we just did, we want to talk about now is we actually had Good Roads president and mayor of Hornepayne, Cheryl Fort, who was presenting to the Standing Committee on Finance and Economic Affairs about this. And she spoke at the committee meeting up in Thunder Bay, which I think was very appropriate considering the kind of tough drive it is for a lot of people to kind of get in to Thunder Bay from all those communities in the north. And we talked about this a bit last week, but so she spoke to the committee about our ask. She got some really good questions from some of the committee members. And yeah, we ended up getting a bunch of media coverage from some of those smaller northern outlets, which again, that's where we want this to be. We want people to hear about it from a bunch of these communities.
Yeah. So if any of you were at Roma, we would have been talking about the exact same thing. Our executive director, Scott Butler, was on a rural road safety panel with some of our esteemed road safety colleagues. And he was talking about the exact same program where it's just like rural and northern roads. Municipalities up there have huge networks of roads and very small tax bases to actually cover the maintenance, even to keep these roads operational. So a lot of these roads, on paper, they're maintained, they're working, cars can drive on them, but people are dying on them. And that's what we're trying to target with this ask. Thomas mentioned we're having road safety auditors. We've been training them for the last couple of years. This is a model that we've brought in from other international jurisdictions. Canada is the only comparative jurisdiction that does not have a national or subnational rural road safety initiative, and that this is our attempt to institute one or institute the groundworks for one. We've been training this army of road auditors. The way Australia does it, they've had fantastic success limiting rural road deaths and injuries. They have auditing at the design stage all the way down to the evaluation stage. We're miles away from that. We want to get people to, we want to get audits out for the roads that we have now where people are dying. And the money we're asking for is really just to put the interventions that the audits are finding into place. And a lot of them are really small things. A lot of these roads, like I said, they're being maintained, but the municipalities just don't have the money to like put in modern safety infrastructure.
There's not a big chance to upgrade those roads. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, if you're just trying to keep your head above water, you're not going to, you can't really do anything to make those roads better or safer or modernized. Yeah. And most of these communities, they're OSIF receiving communities. They're getting these grants just to keep the roads and bridges operational. Like they, as much as they want to make these changes, and we know our members, they tell us every time we go to these conferences and we talk to our membership, they know where these dangerous spots are, right? But they don't have the ability to make those upgrades to prevent those tragedies from occurring and to prevent those insurance premiums from kind of going up. Yep. And so this is where we're trying to kind of take advantage of that and just get that funding to go directly to the municipalities to make those road safety upgrades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's simple stuff. Sometimes it's just rumble strips, guardrails, lighting, cutting down a tree, creating better sight lines. It's a lot of this simple stuff.
All right, that's our 5 minutes there, as we can hear the alarm going off. One thing I just want to add from there, if there are any municipalities who want to talk to the municipal government about this and get on board, how do they do that, guys?
So to the provincial government, you mean, Cheryl?
Yeah, provincial government.
What did I say?
You misspoke. But well, they can put in a delegation request at the Good Roads conference for one.
Yeah, and the other thing we should have probably mentioned in this 5 minutes, even though it's up, is a lot of municipalities actually passed resolutions. Mm-hmm. We had over 100 municipalities, I think closer to 120, 130, actually passed resolutions copying, or to the Premier, copying the Minister of Transportation, copying the Minister of Infrastructure, copying all sorts of different important people at the provincial level. And we encourage everybody to keep doing that. It's one of the ways that we can kind of get our voices heard, our collective voices heard.
Any listeners who have not done that already, if their municipality has not done that and are interested, then please reach out and we can help.
All right.
Yeah, or just reach out to Andrew and I. We're always happy to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll cut it there since this is an important topic. I'll forgive you for going over for a minute or two, but let's move on to our next.
You're the one who kept it going longer, Jared. Just for the record.
It's not good. It's for a good cause.
Hey, we're not pointing fingers here. It's an important issue. That's why I'm letting it go. Anyway, moving on to the next topic, as one that's near and dear to my heart, as Thomas has heard many a time on this podcast. The Feds have announced a national EV strategy, something I took advantage of when I got my first EV, and I wish it'd come out a couple months ago, so I could have done it with my second one. Gentlemen, 5 minutes on the clock and go.
All righty. So, hot off the announcement that Canada will allow the sale of, I think it's 39,000 low-cost Chinese EVs in the country. Again, if people were at Roma, they may have heard Chantal Hebert chime in on this one, where it's like people are concerned that we're getting a bunch of Chinese EVs to compete against nothing, because we don't have that kind of we don't have ultra low cost EVs in this country, so it's filling a hole, it's filling a gap. Anyway, so the federal government announced the other day a little bit more about its electric vehicle strategy. So they are scrapping the mandate that we have 20% of vehicle sales a year BEVs by this year, and they had a goal by 2025 that all 100% of vehicles sold in Canada would be EVs. Now, go back and forth whether or not is a good strategy or not. I think it's moving away from a very strong push towards it, and now we're going back to a rebate program, $5,000 rebate, and I believe it's a little bit lower if you're buying a hybrid, and introducing new vehicle emissions standards. Now, the big news from an infrastructure perspective is there is a $1.5 billion EV infrastructure fund Now, that was just a one-liner in the announcement. No details on that, so we will be watching very closely to see what the details are on that. But that's probably the exciting bit. Now, I'm very interested in this other aspect, though, the introducing new vehicle emissions standards. So this, I think, is moving away from alignment with America. The government sources said that we're going to be looking at introducing new vehicle emissions standards that align with Europe, with the EU. Historically, with a lot of our vehicle standards, we align more with America.
The US,
we'll see what the details are on that. The EU has a plan that has reduced emissions in cars by 28% so far. That's what their standards have. So we'll see if this aligns more closely with them, because in the States things are going bonkers. They've like Trump is gutting the EPA. They're not going to be doing anything going forward.
So it's interesting that you mentioned that, and this, honestly, this is kind of indicative of the times that we're in. If we go back to the Prime Minister's speech at Davos a couple of weeks ago, talking about that kind of rupture in the global order and whatnot, and Canada's we've always aligned our standards with the US because North American vehicle supply chain is so integrated. Like it was literally be impossible to do something different than what is being done in the U.S. and Mexico, because then it would that whole supply chain would not work. So I'm very curious to see what happens if we're moving towards a shift to aligning more with Europe. What happens to the North American vehicle supply chain, right? Yeah. Is this a kind of signal that we are in fact moving to align ourselves more with Europe than the US? Now, I know the American administration has said that we don't need Canada, which so maybe this is the federal government's way of saying, well, we're gonna if you don't need us, we don't need you. I have no idea. This is pure speculation. 100% speculation.
It'd be interesting to see how it plays out, because the thing with America is that you don't really get the impression that they have like a coordinated strategy for this kind of thing. So it's like, they say that. I know that they were pushing something that was of concern to me, is that they were trying to push American safety standards into the EU to allow for more American vehicles.
And the European road safety organizations were also concerned about that.
Yeah, and I think this is what they were pushing into Asia in the same way. And that actually, I think, is a big concern, because as much as I would like to Canada to adopt European emission standards, I would also like Canada to adopt European safety standards, which are much higher than in America. So we'll see how big of a push America makes to effectively erode those standards in Europe. But I think it would be a good step in that direction. This emissions is also a good step in that direction. So hopefully that's just the start of things to come.
Right. And I guess the last point I want to make is we don't know. I don't think we know how much. We know there's $5,000 rebates. We don't know for how much the vehicle has to cost, but we do know that they said it's not going to apply to the low cost Chinese EVs.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Yeah, I didn't see that. Okay. Interesting.
All right, and that's our time for that one. Right on time, boys. You're getting better at this.
Well, it's good that we got a timer up. Right, we've set the timer so we can all see it. And for those who cannot see Jared, he's holding up his phone with a timer on it.
Reveal those secrets, Andrew.
They have it on the screen. They can see the timer going by, so they know just how long we have. Okay, moving on to our third topic, and it's sort of a what if. It's what would it cost to bring American transit up to international standards? And let me get the aforementioned timer ready again.
Okay, I'll take this one again. Yeah, I thought this one was an interesting thought experiment. There is a public transit research from Transportation for America has come out. And just to set the stage, public transit is, if you're not paying attention, completely under attack in America. There's a very hostile federal government who hates public transit and hates active transportation and all that. Multiple states are threatening funding in Pennsylvania and California. Lots of fights over effectively funding transit. And then, of course, there's, I know in situations like Dallas, where a lot of the suburbs are trying to pull out a regional agreement. So a lot of these crises are happening across the country. But of course, there's a lot of transit advocates that are fighting back, including this one. So this is a scenario where it's just like, okay, these people are looking abroad to places in Europe and Asia, places that have what they call world-class transit system, and they turn they developed parameters for like, how do we move in that direction, and how much would it cost? The main metric for this was they're using transit vehicles, be they buses or trains or what have you, per 100,000 people, which is a different metric than usual. Usually, a lot of these metrics for quality of transit system depend on like miles covered, which is kind of complicated because then it gets into regional and stuff like that. But this is for urban centers. They have numbers. So apparently, the metric that they found is about like 130 vehicles per 100,000 people is like your standard for like a world-class system. Singapore, I think, is right at the 130. All throughout Asia and Europe, they're hovering, in the hundreds. When you compare it to America, New York, which is sort of considered, the biggest system. Yeah. Theirs is at 88 per 100,000 people. So they took a look at the major centers in America, and they calculated that it would cost $4.6 trillion US in public sector investment on all levels of government over the next 20 years. And that would bring them up to the world standard. So it sounds like a lot of money, but they spend they're going to be spending 6.3 trillion on highways over the same period to continue building out this highway.
I was going to say that's the point I was hoping to touch on, Andrew. Yeah. This is the U.S. like the like in the U.S. the transportation system, especially the federal impact on it or the way they do things. It's always just based on there's still this mentality from the 1960s, 1950s about this federal interstate expansion program, and it's just like it is so out of date. I know some governments have tried to kind of reform that, but at the end of the day, it's just this is kind of what they keep doing over. They keep rinsing and repeating the same thing, and then it undermines transit, and they underfund the transit, and then they say, well, nobody wants to take transit. We just want to drive. But it's like, no, you have to fund it properly. And that's the standard, and that leads across the border into Canada. We're not the same, but we are similar in that respect, where we don't. And this is coming a week after the one train derails in close to Union Station and pretty much shuts our entire system down. So I did my own calculations on this using their metrics because they don't include Toronto or any other Canadian systems cities in their studies. So using their own metric, and I will admit I used ChatGPT for this, but they gave me a number. I don't know what I trust less, Andrew. Your calculations or ChatGPT's calculations?
It's the same metrics. It's publicly available how many vehicles we have, give or take. And they came out with a figure of 108. Per 100,000 people for Toronto, and then I extrapolated out for the entire GEA. Continue, with everybody, all the municipalities there, and they gave me a lower figure of I think 95. Now, both of these figures are higher than the 88 that they gave for New York. So I'm sure. If you recall the transit system in New York, I don't know if you think that Toronto with their 108 is better than New York with their 88. So that's you can use that as a figuring out how valid this research is. But
fair enough, Andrew. And I think we're at we hit the clock now,
and that's the clock right there. All right. Those were some fantastic topics, some fantastic discussions on all of them, and ones that our listeners should definitely have some fun discussing amongst themselves. But as we come to the end of the show, we are coming into our newest segment, and that's if we have anything fun or interesting to discuss. Does anybody have anything they want to go over?
So I'll jump in here, Jared. I think, I don't know how, depending on our listeners, but something that I think is kind of fun. And again, I'm going to keep it. Andrew just talked about Toronto, and we talked about the conference a bit in the last episode. But we have secured another Toronto cycling study tour for those of you who are attending our conference. For those of you who were thinking about attending last year and didn't, we understand why. The weather was just really bad. I think there was a freezing rain warning last year. We are very much hoping for some sun and for some, hopefully maybe some double-digit temperatures by then. If we're about, I think, 2 months out or just under 2 months out. And I think we're, hopefully it'll be better. We did see that Wyerton Willie did not see his shadow, which means an early spring is coming. But this cycling tour, what we're hoping to do is we want to take everyone down to, and I want to pronounce this properly, Bida CJ Park, which is down by Cherry Street and in the kind of downtown east side, the southeast. They're just next or just past the kind of Don River. And this is a park that has received many accolades in how it's been planned, and everyone that kind of goes there really likes it. There's also a very important Indigenous kind of history there, and it's very much reflected in the public arts and through like different various plaques there, that sort of thing. So we're going to have somebody from the City of Toronto Parks Department. We're going to have somebody from Waterfront TO go down there and kind of explain how this park came to be and all this sort of stuff in there. So I know a lot of people are excited for this from everyone we've talked to about it so far, but we're going to basically bike down there and then check that out and then kind of check out some of the cycling infrastructure on the way there and some on the way back up. And we'll have you back at the Royal York, hopefully by 4:30, right in time for the, I'll have time to go up and take a shower if you want, but for the reception, it starts at 5 p.m.
Yeah. And I don't blame anybody for not going last year. It was also a long route. Like we had been taking them up all the way up to Bloor and back. And this one's a little bit closer, but yeah, it'll take you down to the Lakefront for those who don't know the landscape very well. And yeah, the park does look very, very cool. So hopefully the weather cooperates this year. Yeah.
And just before we end this, just want to shout out to the Toronto Parks Department, and Toronto Transportation Department. Sonia DeVellis has been helping us do this every single year for the past 3-4 years. She's done an amazing job. Thank you. If you're listening, Sonia, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to this one.
Yep. Their team is very dedicated. I just want to say one last thing. Last year, I think we only had like 3 or 4 riders, and they were like very, very accommodating to the entire thing. They didn't cut it short. They were like, no, we're doing this. We're doing the full thing.
Well, it's not the first biking tour we've done. It's not the last, and it's probably not the coldest. I remember our first one, biking was pretty epic as well, as Toronto councillor Paul Ainsley will attest. All right, we're going to wrap that up for today, everybody. That was fantastic, guys. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Andrew. Anybody who's listening, like we just said, the conference is coming up in 2 months. Get your tickets. They are available. Early bird is still on. Get them quick before that runs out. Do not miss that. You do not want to be trying to explain to your boss why you had to pay an extra little bit of money when you could have got your tickets back in January. All right. We're going to wrap it up. Until next week, everybody, take it easy.